Kenyatta in Redlands, California. Hey, Kenyatta, what's up?
How are you, Tom? I hope you had, you and Louise and your family, a really happy holiday and safe one.
Thank you. We did. I hope the same is true for you.
Outstanding. Listen, I wanted to talk about Tamir Rice.
Mm-hmm.
I have children now that are in their 20s, but, you know, I think about this 12-year-old boy, and I think about the call that came in, and there is no 12-year-old anywhere in the world that looks like a man, and Tamir certainly didn't.
Right.
And as a parent, you know, I'm going to say something that black people all across this country, and I'm sure probably most honest white people said when this verdict came in yesterday, they weren't surprised.
Right.
And I'm not surprised either, and that's not resignation, Tom, or apathy. My passion is even quantified by this. But the point I want to make is that, and I wanted to pose to you this question, and I think you agree, this has to stop. You just gave a statistic that floored me a few moments ago about the police shootings.
Right, over 1,000 of them. 14 cities in America. It's exclusively people of color, specifically African Americans.
Specifically.
Yeah.
And here's the question. If you agree that this has to stop, I mean, it has to stop on a number of levels. What does that say about the United States? What does it say about our culture? What does it say or about U.S. culture? A lot of things. But the question is that, okay, what is the avenue that black people have specifically, since this is specific, it seems to be a specific malady overwhelmingly that affects us. What are the venues that we have to seek redress? And there's one, and that is the justice system.
Right.
If you accept the fact that this has to stop, you also have to accept the fact that the justice system is not working to stop it. So the question becomes, how does it stop? What does that look like?
Right. Right. And I would submit to you that there are a couple of things that need to be done. One, I was looking for this quote from John. Here it is. This is John Ehrlichman, Richard Nixon's right-hand man. This is something that... pardon me?
I remember him well.
Yeah, I remember him well, too. Here's what John Ehrlichman wrote, and this was in the Washington Post in 2015, December 28th of this year. Quote, "The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or to be black. But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know that we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did." So, number one, end the drug war, because that's what that was all about. It was started by Richard Nixon. And number two, we have to stop the grand jury system and local prosecutors from being the ones who investigate police killings when grand juries and local prosecutors depend upon the police to be able to do their jobs. We need somebody evaluating police officers who have been involved in violence, let's say, because it goes way beyond just killing people. There's a mind-boggling amount of abuse. I mean, Sandra Bland, I think, is a classic example of that. Whenever an officer is involved in something like this, it needs to be evaluated by an independent agency that has police authority, that has the authority to subpoena, that has the authority to question, that has the authority to imprison. And frankly, I think probably that should be a federal authority, because, you know, the states, particularly in the South, have a terrible history of policing themselves with regard to anything like this. You know,
I presented that to you a couple of months ago, Tom, about I used the word federal marshals, but they would have to, and you had you had come back with, you know, and it would have to be someone who wasn't kind of part of the gun culture. Those weren't your words, and that's correct. Someone that had a legal background, and I think that these have to be special types of czars. But it's obviously a problem. I want to make two real quick points, Tom. You notice that these verdicts in these cases, and we've had so many of them, from Michael Brown, on and on and on. Okay. You notice that they always end up coming up in the wintertime when it's cold and there's less chance of protests. then people are tied up with holidays. Have you noticed that? And if you haven't, take a look at it.
I have not noticed that as a pattern, but that's an interesting. You've sensitized me to it. I'll start looking for it.
All right. And the other thing I wanted to say real quick is that in this case, just as the case with the young man in New York who was shot, I think, 16, 17 times, the cop was about to reload.
Right.
They charged that cop with first-degree murder. And I wanted to just speak on prosecutorial manipulation. Tom, that was not. There's no way they can prove a murder in the first case. There's no way to prove that cop, as heinous as what he did was, that he intended when he got out of that vehicle to shoot that man.
Right.
That's impossible because you have to now do a minority report kind of thing of what was going on in his head.
Right. So in other words, they set up
a knife or something.
They set up a fail-safe for themselves. They prosecute him for something that he can't be convicted of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it, Tom.
Yeah, you may well be right, Kenyatta. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the call. Great to hear from you. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.